need another television channel
Oh, right.
for Nick's, for Eric's.
Yeah, you're right. Kurt, would you like to be a full-time member this time?
Sure.
I just didn't read your sign. I'm just so used to you being here.
I think my first meeting is open, so
It is.
I'm gonna kill that can.
But that would be appreciated. Okay, so we have a couple of agenda changes. The first and probably most important one is that our hearing on the excavation permit for Conkey Enterprises LLC is not going to happen tonight. There is a deficiency in the computer program that generates the abutters list. And because the property in question abuts and actually extends into two towns other than Enfield, those abutters were never noticed. So rather than get into trouble down the line with people who weren't noticed, this came to my attention late this afternoon. So we decided that we have to renotice, and everybody will get mailings if you're within 200 feet. And tentatively, we're going to postpone until our first meeting in August, which is Wednesday, the 10th. So if you are here for the discussion on the Conkey excavating permit, that is not happening tonight. And if Mr. Conkey gets all the abutters to our land use administrator by what date, Rob?
Need it by at least next Wednesday.
In by next Wednesday, then we can notice it legally for the 10th of August. If we don't have everything by next Wednesday, then it'll be the second meeting in August, which, let me look at a calendar.
24? 24.
24th, people tell me, 24th. So, all of you folks who came for that, we thank you for coming out. I wish we could have,
Yes.
I wish we could have gotten notice to you in a timely manner, because I know it's a long circuitous route from the eastern part of Enfield. And you're welcome to stay and watch the rest of the hearings. Yes, sir.
My question, I purchased property over a year ago and the letter was sent to the previous owner. Is that gonna get updated?
Rob,
I
you
would've
want to
thought by
address that?
now it would've been updated. It's in the deed already for the town, so.
Chip.
Chip, yes, Chip Haley.
Give the address.
It's under the Wormwood Haley Trust,
What's the address?
33 Hickory Overlook.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Okay. The other agenda adjustment is we had scheduled two conceptuals. Both of those parties have decided to not have their conceptual today. They will be rescheduled at some point. We don't know when. Thirdly, there is no news on the master planning front at this point, so I will not be giving a report on that. Okay, that takes care of agenda adjustments. If there's anybody in the room who has anything that they would like to comment on that is not on the agenda, now is your time. Okay. Next, Kate, the select board report.
This is the part where I tell you select board meeting was canceled for July 5th. And so that's kind of an agenda adjustment. It was, we frequently take 1 week off. and the only items were relatively well handled. I will tell you, the only reason we would have met is because we had some tax deeding to take a look at. That was largely taken care of. And the one thing to know that isn't quite resolved, but we have in process is something that is a statewide issue, which is the tax deeding of mobile homes that are in parks, because they do not own the property they are on. So you owe, if you take them, then you owe the park rent to the park. And so you lose money as a town. And so we are very lucky to have Ed, who started to tackle this in Claremont already, together with an attorney who we've had for years, who's tackled it in his town, because Jim Raymond is on the select board in his town. So we were lucky enough to have them work together. It's basically going to be, it can either be redeemed or it's going to be like a $1 type sale. The park rent gets waived and the park gets to sell the trailer and we don't lose money, because the goal is to not lose it and then to get it turned around so it goes back onto the tax rolls, right? We don't want to end up in a negative cash position because we took a property if we can help it. Now, there are properties that have been abandoned that are condemned that we're going to have to, for safety and public, health, eventually take care of. But that was kind of the pending item. So I'll tell you that that's still pending, and our next meeting is always exciting in July. So the next meeting should be on the 19th, if I'm not wrong. Nope, I'm sorry, that's the 18th. Is it the 19th?
18.
It's the 18th, it's a Monday, okay.
Okay, thanks, Kate. Any questions or comments? Okay. Next is our meeting minutes from June 22nd. Anyone have any comments or changes? Suggestions?
I make a motion, we accept the minutes as written.
Motion has been made by Dan and Kylie. Do I hear a second?
Second.
We'll take the second from Tim. All in favor of accepting the minutes of, not March 22nd, of June 22nd, as submitted, indicate by saying aye.
I'd like to make an amendment first.
Oh,
Okay.
Can I change it to June 22nd?
Yes, you could.
Okay,
I'm sorry, there was one thing I
okay.
spaced. It's page 4, line 131. It's the Brownfields phase 2. So it says Browns phase 2, Roman numeral 2, it should be Brown Fields, right?
One word. One word.
Yep, thanks, sorry about that, guys.
Yep.
I knew I was forgetting something important.
I make a motion, we accept the meeting as minutes as amended.
Okay. Tim, do you want to second that amended motion?
Sure.
Okay. All in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions?
Same.
All right, we have 2 abstentions and 1, 2, 3, 4. Jim, how do you vote?
He's got to abstain, he wasn't here either.
1, 2, 3, 4. 4 is a quorum.
Four's good.
Let's do it. Minutes are approved as amended. Okay, next. We have a voluntary lot merger for Craig and Ellen Lewis. Craig and Ellen, are you here?
We are here.
Okay, why don't you come up? Let me explain for the assembled multitudes that a voluntary lot merger of 2 or more lots that are owned by the same parties is something that is done by right. Means you get it. All you have to do is make application, which you have done. Planning board has to vote to accept it. And then we will write you it's just basically a notice of lot merger, which then gets filed with the county registrar. So is there any discussion on this?
I'll just put the two lots are here, 8 and 8-1. Only that it's on Shaker Boulevard. It's a very positive thing because both lots are non-conforming now, so that this one lot still won't be conforming, but it'll be more conforming than it is now in the house, which is a positive.
A minor problem of dividing a house.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Was that before or after? How that happened? I'm just curious on the history of that.
We bought the property that there was an original cottage on one lot. And we added on to it. And the new addition went on to the second lot.
Yeah.
And we never got rid of the line between the two, so it runs between the dining room and the living room.
Yeah,
So,
it's amazing what surveyors can find.
so we've been carrying that for years and it's just a housekeeping thing.
yeah, it's a good thing to do.
Get 2 tax bills.
Do we send them in 2 different envelopes?
No.
Sorry, I had to know we saved that 50-something cents.
Okay, so, would somebody?
I
care to
make a motion, we accept the voluntary merger. I'll second that.
Okay, motion made by Dan, seconded by Phil. You're in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? You have lost a lot.
Congratulations.
One less document to scan.
So there'll be a document that I generate that he signs as the chair, and then you guys will sign as the owners.
You'll get
And
sent to
that
us?
gets, yeah, I'll send it to you, or I can call you and come down, or whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
And then we send it up to the registry. The registry actually makes a scan of it, and they put it in their files. And they actually send it back to us, so we put it in our files here, it goes into a record. And obviously, the assessor administrator, Julie downtown, will do some work so that next time you get them, you just get one bill in the same,
Yeah.
one envelope, so.
Yep.
Should be looking good.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right,
Okay.
thanks, guys.
Yeah, sorry
Thank you.
about
No worries.
We hope you enjoy your single lot.
Yeah.
Comfy chairs.
That's.
Welcome to the neighborhood. Okay, we're not doing the Conkey hearing as previously explained. And next is, Vicky's Roadside Cafe. Which is P 220702. Mickey's 603 LLC, DBA Mickey's Roadside Cafe, has applied for minor site plan review to relocate and expand an outdoor dining patio. The business is within the community CB zoning district. The lot is 0.5 acres in size. The business and parcel are owned by Mickey's 603 LLC, Nicholas Yeager and Maria Limon.
You got it.
That's that. Proprietors. So they sent us a nice package, which I need to find here. And so we have no members of the public. So basically, I'm going to say that the public hearing is open. And I'm going to ask you to explain what it is that you want to do, which is essentially what's in your packet. And then we'll have a dialogue back and forth, board members asking questions. And then we'll close the public hearing and the board will debate and decide what we're going to do. Before you do that, though, question for the board members. According to our subdivision regulations, my read is that this should be a major site plan review, not subdivision, rather than a minor. The reason for this is because it is an expansion of an existing use, that being dining, of more than 500 square feet, which your new patio, roughly, what, 66 by 20 is
Yeah, I think so.
about, what, 1,200, give or take? So my read is that it should be a major, discussion from the board. We can certainly waive some of the requirements, on the major site plan review part of it.
Did you say subdivision at one point?
I did say subdivision, I misspoke.
No,
in
that's
site
fine.
plan.
I just wanted to make sure I didn't miss a boat somewhere. I'm
No,
not picking at you.
no.
Thank you.
I miss,
My poor brain.
I misspoke.
That's cool. I'm
My
fine with
bad.
that.
Yeah.
Cool.
so-
I've got subdivisions on my brain.
That's
Yeah.
fine.
So is the. They ask it.
Yeah,
Okay,
go ahead.
first question. I'm being new to the planning board. I was gonna ask, but I don't know. So. Thinking about what you just said, David, I'm wondering if, is that referring to a building?
I can read the line, like, directly. So this is minor review. Minor review plan, what shall require for the following. There's some stuff about change of floor area, increased intensity of use, respective parking demand and traffic generation for a site with 2,500 square feet or less of gross floor area. That seems to be more inside a building, the way it's worded. Next line is expansion of non-residential floor space by 500 square feet or less with no change of use. And then site improvements, alterations without new development, redevelopment, expansion, or change of use. This is all for minor. So other minor amendments to existing site plans and non-conforming uses that the board decides not to require major review. Occupation. So the part you were quoting was expansion of non-residential floor space by 500 square feet or less with no change of use. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, the wording, it doesn't help when it says floor space.
No.
Because it thinks in terms of inside four walls.
Right.
Where this is open.
You know, we're talking expansion of a deck or a patio for a use, which is outdoor dining.
Yeah,
And,
I mean, you call
you know,
it deck.
you can read it either way.
Right, right, I mean, a deck is a floor,
So
putting tables and chairs on it.
I go the easy route.
yeah, I'm gonna read it.
I'm gonna read it.
I'm
I'd even go
assuming, Rob,
easier.
you
I'd
made a
waive.
determination.
I'd make a motion to waive.
Yeah.
I'll
Okay.
second
Right,
that.
right, I mean, that's the easy way out, yeah.
Yeah, I'd make a motion to waive the need for a major subdivision and that it be considered a minor subdivision.
Okay.
Sorry. Subdivision's on
Now-
your
now
mind. I
we're in
know,
trouble.
site plan.
I'll second that
I
motion.
started something.
And
Yeah,
I'd
let's-
just like to
yeah,
add, I'd like also, Rob makes typically determination. I'd like to
Yeah.
support Rob's determination because I think,
But it was-
it is
yeah.
a kind of hairy line, but I think that it makes a lot of.
So,
And, could we, I guess if we have a question about the applicability of or subdivision regulation or zoning ordinance to a particular item where Rob has made a determination, should we try to sort that out before we have the meeting? Is that possible? I mean, because if it was a major, say we clearly decided it was gonna be a major subdivision. You folks have put a lot of work into this and now we have this big stumbling block so that's just a procedural issue.
Now, back to site plan subdivision. Subdivision is the concept of conceptual, which is voluntary, but very helpful. I don't know if that's even in the wording for site plan.
We have done conceptual site plans, and the reason we're going straight to a hearing is so that, these folks can get their outdoor dining
Right.
expansion done ASAP.
Yeah, but like when Tim was saying, if the board decided this was actually more than a simple thing, and Rob, it was a gray area for Rob, and he said, well, let's go forward, you know, along that line, or just let's help the applicants here move forward, and we as a board decide otherwise, then everybody's unhappy.
I think at some points there's pain that has to be felt. And, you know, hopefully, you know, we can. I mean, that's why conceptuals, I think, are a good thing.
Yeah.
Right.
You know,
Yeah,
and,
because it
and,
weeds
and
that out.
and we've just got a combination of circumstances of, you know, they want to get their project off the ground, which I appreciate. And by the way, putting on my master plan task force hat, what you guys want to do is exactly what we want to see happen.
Oh, good.
In this town,
Thank you.
okay?
So let's make it easy.
So we will try,
So you
we
have
will
a
try to
motion on
make
the
it as
table?
painless as possible.
We have
Yeah.
a motion on the table.
Right, I agree. I agree with Tim with the exception that you can't do it before the meeting because it would have to be a public meeting.
Well, no, I meant,
You can give
if
some
if Rob has a question and
Yeah.
he's not exactly sure.
Yeah.
A conversation with the chairman,
We,
Is that not-
we are, yeah, we
Right.
have done that
You did.
before,
Yeah.
and, you know, sometimes Rob will persuade me, or I will persuade Rob, and in this instance, I don't think we ever really met in the middle,
Sort of
so,
agreed to disagree.
you know,
and we've had this on our digitally for a while, so if any of us had raised an issue.
But once it's on the agenda, it goes forward.
Has to go forward.
Yeah.
first,
Yeah, once it's posted as, except for what happened earlier tonight when it
Take
was
things off.
a legal issue.
yeah,
It was discovered.
it needs to
late,
happen.
Too late.
yeah. So,
Can I call the question?
call, yes. All in favor of, proceeding, can I just say
Yeah.
proceeding as a minor subdivision?
A minor site
Site
plan? Yes.
Yes, thank you for correcting that. All in favor of a minor site plan review indicate by saying aye. Aye, opposed, abstentions. Okay, this will continue as a minor site plan review.
Nice.
Got it. So go ahead and tell us exactly what you want to do. Who's going to be the presenter?
I guess that'll be me. Yeah, okay.
Okay,
So my name is Nick Yeager, this is my wife Maria Limon. Together, we set up Mickey's 603 LLC and purchased Mickey's last fall from Leo B. Dowd, AKA Mickey. And I've known him since I was a kid. I used to work for them at EBA's years ago. So it was really a nice thing when they reached out to us. He had it on the market for a while, and he and his brother, who I worked directly for, reached out to us and asked if we'd be interested. We own and operate Gusano's in Lebanon. We opened that up in 2005. And we opened another restaurant with one of our kids he's the chef and does he's the front of it. We just help him with the administrative in the back. And so this was just something that really worked out well with our plan. Coming into Mickey's, it's a very, well-known, nice establishment that's been there for, I think, 17 years as Mickey's, and prior to that it was Janet's. Gone through some evolution over the years. And we came in and respecting the history of what was there, we also have a lot of things that we'd like to do to change it and just sort of help it to stay viable for the next, 17 years. And part of that is going to be really sort of elevating the experience without gentrifying it, if that makes any sense. We don't want to take it and make it unattainable for local folks to eat and dine there. We would like to, it has somewhat of a history of being known as a place to go and consume alcohol without food. We sort of want to push that aside. And in doing so, we want to elevate the tavern that's open downstairs. We have a couple different ideas of what direction we're going to go with that. We've also been working to sort of elevate the menu upstairs, which also carries over to the tavern. And we've introduced a char broiler, so we're cooking steaks over open flame, and just sort of industry standard type things. Some food safety improvements that we've made with refrigeration, training, and those types of things. We've limited the menu a little bit so that way we don't have as many products in-house, so that we have fresher food. We've started to do some local purchasing of product, not a lot yet. We're buying our burgers from a farm. I think it's not Roby Farms. I forget the name of it. It's another local, relatively local farm, a New Hampshire farm. And we'll continue to seek those types of suppliers as we continue to go forward. And part of the redevelopment of it is to, as we let you guys know, we want to upscale the dining a little bit, provide a little bit better service and a little bit cleaner environment, maybe a little bit more unique. But the patio, which currently sits, I think right now it's rated for 24 seats, I believe, off the top of my head, 24 or 25, and it sits on the upper side of the building. It's not a very comfortable place to sit. And we have dogs that in fact, they'd be here with us tonight if it was allowed. They go with us pretty much everywhere we go. And so we go there and we'll often sit at the patio when we go to Mickey's. And, you hear the cars going by, everybody revs their motors, they're going up the hill, and during bike week, you couldn't even have a conversation out there. So, and we see this beautiful area down below that previously at different iterations of Mickey's, patios had been located there. They'd been located down below the building, directly adjacent to the building. It sort of floated around over the years. But we wanted to make it a formal and proper patio, I guess, and do it, through all the right means instead of just rearrange it as I think had been done in the past. And in doing so, we also want to make sure that we have the opportunity to capitalize on the space that's down there. It's a really nice area. It's a lot quieter. It's removed from the road. It's insulated. It's a little bit safer. If you've sat in Mickey's patio or driven by, there's always the potential for a car that's coming in to make a wrong turn and go into the patio. There's really nothing there to prevent that. Anybody that's driving through there, it's really tight when the patio is open in its current place. There's the drive-through window where people pick up to go, and anybody that's passing through there then goes through this bottleneck. And there's pedestrians that cross because that's also the main entrance to the building. By relocating that, we elevate the experience, we open that up, it's a little bit safer, and by having it down on the lower side, we also can make it safer for traffic that's entering as well. So that's our goal in moving it from those aspects. And in doing so, we don't at this point want to build a deck or anything down there. No permanent type changes along those lines. We would just look to maintain the surface that's there, probably improve it a little bit more crushed gravel, which is what's there currently. Potentially down the road, we'd want to look at putting some other type of surface there. That would be something we would check with Rob on to make sure it's an allowed surface. But we've seen some pretty good stuff. We were just down in Boston, and we had an outdoor patio where they had an artificial grass that was commercially rated, which was really nice. So that would be a possibility. And those are other things down the road, but not for this year. But in moving the patio, as we indicated in the packet, we also want to insulate it from incoming cars by putting up a planter wall. And we intend to use these blocks that are made in Lebanon. One of two sources, either the block plant, I forget the name of the actual business, they call it the block plant on Elm Street West. And then also the big cement company there also does cement blocks, very similar thing that Lebanon's been using extensively, and is also currently the back wall of Mickey's. So we would look at either one of those two products to bring in to build a wall that's shown on the sheet. Just enough to protect people from any vehicle that was coming in, but also to delineate where the patio begins. On the back side of it, we already have it demarked with rocks that are there. What was that?
You can see them.
Oh, nice, yeah, and yeah, you can see the rocks in the backside there. And those are, we would leave those in place as long as the liquor commission is okay. With that, we probably have to post something saying no alcohol beyond this point. But that would be the goal of the layout of the patio. We'll service it from the building. We have very good visibility on the patio. So, as far as maintaining control of alcohol and those types of things, it's at least as good as the current one, if not potentially better, because we have 2 layers two levels that overlook it. Servers would operate it out of the tavern, which is kind of where the end of that, yeah, right in that area, that entrance there. So we think that we can have very good level of service, good command and control, and a nice safe environment for folks as well. We don't know that we would seat the requested number of seats right off the bat. It's going to depend a little bit on what's available for patio furniture, although it's better this year than it was last year. Last year, when we did the same thing with Lalo's with our son, we expanded Lalo's patio. It was really tough getting furniture. I think this year it's a little easier. But so we'll bring in the seats, and once again, it may take a little while to get them all established, but we would put up that planter wall and have the area marked out clearly, as once we get approval to do this. As far as year round, we also indicated that we would potentially like to set up these igloos that we've seen in New York City. A few years back, we went down to the city with one of our kids for her 21st birthday. It was Julian's. No, it was one of our boys. Went down and we went to a building on Fifth Avenue. It was really cool. At the top of it, they had these igloos that were, you could sit in throughout the winter. It was really neat. And we've seen them around in a few places locally, but not, I can't tell you where. I know I saw them somewhere in Vermont when we were driving around one day.
I told Concord,
Concord has them, they're
Concord.
up on Church Street in Burlington.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and so the manufacturer that we would use is the same one that does the ones in New York up on top of the, I forget the name of it, but I put it in the packet. And they seem to be sort of the industry standard. And we would like to do 4 of those during the winter months. And we think that that's going to also be a real draw and is going to help to make Mickey's more of a destination. So, if your anniversary is in the middle of winter, it might be a nice place to go and sit under twinkle lights in a semi-warm igloo outside of it in the winter. So that's sort of our year-round intention, is not to dismantle it, but just to shift it in the mid-fall and then shift it back in mid-spring as weather permits. And I think that kind of sums up our intentions. But mainly the goal is we want to make Mickey's more of a destination and just continue to have it be a good employer and a good reason for people to come to Enfield into the future. And we think this is an integral part of that.
okay, great. So for site plan review, got it right this time.
You did.
There's a bunch of stuff that we traditionally look at. And I think the easiest thing to do is go through them and let you tell us how you're going to comply.
Sure.
If it's something that actually is something that is relevant to your configuration. So the first thing that we look at are setbacks. And for the CB district, it is 30 feet to the street. Obviously, that doesn't apply. 20 feet sides and rear, and 50 feet from water, streams, brooks, and wetlands. None of your sketches give any of those dimensions. Do you happen to know where you fall?
Well, you can see on that photo, and it's sort of mirrored on the sketch, there is a small brook that runs behind Mickey's. I don't know the name of it, but it's well within 50 feet of where the patio would be. It's probably pretty close to within 50 feet of the building as well.
Yeah, Rob?
I've had a discussion with them. We talked about, obviously the setback is for structure setback.
Right.
And so we've had the discussion, Nick and I, about structure such as a tent or the igloos.
Right.
And he's expressed an interest, if that's a necessity for him to come back and do zoning variance for structural. But I sort of have ruled that the patio is sort of a landscape feature is not considered, well, it is considered a structure, but it's not subject to the buffer zone requirements.
Is a temporary tent structure.
I'm-
I mean, it has, if you're, because when I've looked at these before and seen them in person, so they have stakes that drive them in like a regular tent, except they're much more rigid, you know, what I mean, they're stronger, but you're expecting to pull them and move them, you're not keeping them year round. So,
Are they gonna be there taken down during the winter or?
The
so
opposite.
it's the
Time
opposite,
or-
The opposite.
it's the opposite, the igloos for the winter.
Yeah, they'll go up in late fall when it starts to get uncomfortable to sit outside. And then, we bring them down in mid-spring.
Temporary. It's a temporary structure.
Yeah, that's the igloos, and the tent would just sort of, take up the other half of the year. Is that
Yeah,
the
we
plan?
see the tent, we might not do one this year, but when we did this, talking with Rob, he said, you know, anything you might do in the future, let's look at it now, so that way it's there. You know, we see like, if you go into Lebanon, Salt Hill has that tent on half of their, patio that
Yeah,
the city
Out on the
dedicated.
street.
And then the other part is open. Yeah, and, you know, the tent, of course, is useful in inclement weather if it's raining.
Or really sunny.
Or really sunny, yeah, yeah.
Or if you're light skinned.
Right. So that's something that we'd like to have the ability to do, if the business warrants it.
Mhm.
That's the goal.
Would the board be amenable to approving the igloos and the tent? Contingent on getting a variance from the ZBA?
No, I don't think you need one. So, okay, so my line of thinking on this when I read it, and I'm just using myself as an example because I'll pick on me because it's nicer than picking on someone else. So say I have something in current use, right? And I go set up a tent on it. I can set up a tent for like the whole summer and it doesn't make it not current use. I guess that was kind of my mental philosophy, was that like, if I go stake a tent somewhere, I don't have to get a special permit
Yeah.
for it. I mean, I can stake a tent down in the wetlands and as long as,
Yeah, but you're not,
Residential versus.
you're not commercial.
I understand that, well, I farm, so somebody's probably gonna try to pull something on me. You know, so if I go throw myself a tent down there and then people start staying there, right?
Well, it doesn't matter what the sides are made of. If it's it'd be no different than putting a wooden shed and saying it's on wheels. It's still a structure.
By definition, it's
Yeah,
a structure.
right, yeah.
It's an assemblage of materials.
Yeah. And the purpose of the setback in structures is for to provide pervious surface or to prevent pervious surface being within that 50-foot setback area. So it's serving the same purpose as a structure with a roof. A wooden structure with a roof on it.
Yeah, what I was gonna say is I've had some trouble, neighbors complaining about temporary carports, you know, basically a pole, like almost like a tubular
Yeah.
steel. That's
Quonset hut type of thing.
And we have taken some action for setback intrusions with those, and that's sort of a.
They don't take
similar-
those up and down, that's,
But you can move them, I mean. there's
right, I
certain-
mean, the intent of those is not to move them, and
Yep.
it's not to take them up and down.
Yeah, but
seasonally.
Neither is this. It's gonna be the canopy or it's gonna be the igloo, but there's always gonna be something with a roof over the patio.
And I will say, I mean, I talked to Nick about this after a discussion with the chair, and he's said he's absolutely amenable to working with us on the zoning, and I really think the zoning board would be cooperative for this type of use. And,
Yeah,
you know, there's a case we made that there's a hardship there too. I mean, he's trying to adapt his business during the case of, we're still in the COVID pandemic, and then you guys and the zoning board, back when we first entered into COVID, we actually agreed to sort of relax our enforcement to try to help out all of our outdoor diners, if you remember, so. I'm confident that, and these kind folks have said that they would work with us on that, so my recommendation for you guys would be conditional approval. If they do decide they want to do a tent and igloos, come back and see us, $150 for a ZBA application fee, some butters notices, we can probably get it done. I would not say patio table and umbrella rises to structure. No, so
No way.
umbrellas are probably fine. And I hate to be, I mean, we, as Chairman said, we obviously really are excited about what you guys are doing.
Yeah.
Obviously, we'll do everything we can to help you through the process.
No, we understand
We
there's,
can't guarantee the zoning board's gonna work with you, but
right.
I know them pretty well, and they're definitely, supportive of business, and so we'll do everything we can to help you with that process.
And we just want to, that's, and we're more than happy to take steps to do it the right way. That way, if it's done the correct way, then we don't have to deal with it
Yeah,
when
you're
something
rock
comes
solid.
up.
Yeah, and as much as we can get nailed down in this round of site plan
Sure.
review, that way you don't have to come back in 6 months when you want to put the igloos up. We just get it done,